Coming up next, an offense right out of tomorrow.
Cadillac, LC 14 net. R344Z band.
Pay attention to your assignment.
It is the language of Florida State's future. A future so bright, Bobby Bowden's got to wear shades. The offense only loses 2 starters from last year's unit. That bunch finished 5th in the nation in scoring. So,
Shouldn't be no reason why we should come out and click. If now we have better athletes than before.
but the future of this offensive line still has question marks. For one thing, can Morris go at all? He broke his foot just 2 weeks ago, but vowed he would be back for the opener. Until then, redshirt freshman Patrick McNeil is practicing in his place, next to All-American candidate Kevin Mancini. Center Robbie Baker's banged up as well. Off-season surgery on his right shoulder has stayed hurt. Reggie Dixon figures to be solid at the other guard, and Robert Stevenson can play anywhere. But the key is depth behind them. And behind that line, offensive coordinator Brad Scott has an interesting dilemma. Which weapons to use?
More than anything else that maybe this offense has is the ability to hopefully to strike in a lot of areas.
And a good place to start, a backfield some publications are calling the best in the country in the preseason.
They give us that title right now, but the thing for us to do is to go out in game time and prove it. So I'll wait till then.
As far as guys that can run the ball, come out of the backfield and catch the ball. The total group, I think this is probably the most diversified group.
And Mr. Versatility among this versatile group is junior Amp Lee, 825 yards on the ground, 360 more catching the ball last season, using a style that few in the country can match.
Deceptive, I have to say. I'm a slasher, I think. I'm not the fastest guy on the field. I have good moves, quick feet, and I'm able to use my vision really well.
And watch him change lanes. Look at that. Boom, one time. Boom, 2 times. Nobody ever, it was touch football he'd be by these guys. Boom, 3 misses.
Just trying to follow him is hard enough, so I guess if you try to do what he does, you're working hard.
But Jackson has shown he can get it done if called on, like this long run in the Seminoles' first scrimmage this preseason, and with a couple of 100-yard games in 1990. Now he's joined by the likes of Tiger McMillan and everybody's All-American Marquette Smith. And that's just the tailbacks.
That's an exciting thing to think about, really honor, being part of a great team like Florida State.
At fullback, well, they don't come much better. Edgar Bennett spurned the NFL, though he would have been eligible to come back this year.
It gives me an opportunity to show that I'm number one, and, I'm going to help this team, do whatever I can to help the team win that championship.
Overall, the magazines have given their thumbs up to this group as potentially the best backfield ever at FSU. Emphasize potentially.
I have to think back on that 87 group when we had Marion Butts and Victor Floyd and Sammy Smith and Dexter Carter. There's 3 that's starting in the NFL. We have a lot of talent in those young guys, but they haven't proven it yet.
2 years ago, it was the receivers who were ultra deep. Now the Fab Four's lone survivor, Lawrence Dawsey, is gone, and it's some big shoes to fill.
When Dawsey left, he took a lot with him, a lot part of the offense. But I think we've grown in experience.
Fryer is fighting with Kez McCory for the split end spot, a sophomore and a freshman, while Shannon Baker or Eric Terrell figures to start at flanker. No seniors and no superstars, but a chance for the receivers to spread the wealth.
With those type of guys, it's easy for one guy each game to be on top.
The talent's there, and it's just now, a couple of great catches and they'll be over the line, like I was.
The tight end position, total inexperience, and this was a battle right until the season opener to replace a duo that combined for 36 catches last season. Warren Hart, Marvin Farrell, and Lonnie Johnson all in the running. Each has different skills, but who could do it all?
We've got some runners, we've got some hitters, we've got some guys that can catch the football. Now, can we do it all together?
That has yet to be answered, as does this question. How will Dan Mowry respond to his first collegiate place kick? We'll find out about pressure soon enough.
Opening on national television, and you're following a little bit later with some outstanding teams in Michigan up that way. Plus, they're moving the goalpost in a little bit on you, so there's a little bit of added pressure there.
But those are the few question marks. The reality is...
Expectations, they're really unlimited.
We're going to have a very potent offense. It's going to be tough to stop us because we're going to keep the ball, we're going to air it out when we have to, we're going to run the ball when we have to, and we can do both equally well.
The future is almost upon us with Florida State's offense. Don Evans reporting from Florida State.
The outlook was brilliant for the Seminoles that fall, but here the score stood 10-9, and the visitors had the ball. The clock said 01:30, and on the bench there Casey sat. The fans could only hope and pray that he'd get his turn at bat.
Ty Detmer of BYU. Ty Detmer.
Tonight marks the beginning of Ty Detmer's final crusade through the battlefields of college football as he strives to add to his total of 42 NCAA records. In Provo, Utah, Air Detmer has been a smash hit. In Tallahassee, the chant is already, "We're #1," and that claim has real substance. Quarterback Casey Weldon triggers an offense that dazzles one's imagination. Head coach Bobby Bowden just might have his first national championship. Tonight, the top-ranked Seminoles embark on a treacherous journey. First up, the offensive machine of Brigham Young in the second annual Disneyland Pigskin Classic. By Disneyland, where every day it's party time USA. Come celebrate. Season at East Rutherford, New Jersey, as Penn State whipped Georgia Tech. Tonight, 3,000 miles to the west, we are in Anaheim, California, as Raycom Network continues its kickoff tradition with the Disneyland Pigskin Classic. Tonight, top-ranked Florida State meets Heisman winner Ty Detmer and the Cougars of Brigham Young. Good evening, everybody. I'm Phil Stone, along with a member of that Pony Express way back there, along with Eric Dickerson. Of course, I'm talking about Craig James. Tonight, Craig, it is the story of the haves and the have-nots. For Florida State, they do everything well. They are indeed gifted. While for Brigham Young, I think the byword here in 1991 is going to be finesse football.
It better be, because Brigham Young plays tonight, Florida State. Later on down the schedule, UCLA, Penn State. They've got to find a way to offset some of the strength in their schedule.
You know, Brigham Young, year in and year out, is so accustomed to dictating the pace of a college football game. Question tonight is, can they do it against the team with the credentials of Florida State?
Well, Ty Detmer won the Heisman Trophy last season by dropping 7 yards in the pocket, looking downfield, and eating defenses' lunches. But tonight, he'll have to find a different way of doing that. He needs to move the pocket tonight, get out around the tackles, move around the corners, allow his wide receivers a chance to get open.
For the top-ranked Seminoles of Florida State, they have won 6 games in a row since Casey Weldon has taken over at quarterback. They have proven commodities at every position, and I just wonder here in 1991 if Bobby Bowden just might not have that first national championship team.
He'd better do it, because we're all predicting that he's going to do it, and he's been predicted many times before. He's got a guy named Casey Weldon at quarterback that will be his main man, that runs the offense, a very solid performer, 1,600 yards last year, 12 touchdowns, and that's after not playing the first 6 games of the season. This year he's got a supporting cast as well. Amphley at tailback, a very gifted runner, tremendous field vision, can see where lanes are, and he's got that burst of speed that all great running backs have, and able to get up in the secondary and make the long runs. And he's not alone in the backfield. Edgar Bennett, the fullback, is probably the #1 fullback in the NCAA.
It's hard to believe, Craig. Florida State, 3 deep at every position and the offensive backfield. A year ago, BYU knocked off then top-ranked Miami. Can they do it again tonight? Of college football certainly creates an excitement that is unequaled in all of sports. We welcome you back to Anaheim Stadium here in Anaheim, California. If Florida State is to take their first step toward that initial national championship, Craig, what must they do? I think one thing, they've got to serve notice that they are indeed a collegiate powerhouse.
Well, they have 3 things on that game plan. Number 1, they've got to go out tonight and show the entire country that regardless of the strength of their schedule, they're going to dominate ball clubs. They are going to be 12-0 and win the national championship. If they allow Ty Detmer to sit in the pocket and read their defense, they can forget about it. They can go get a drink of water, because he will eat their lunch as well. And then controlling the clock, a good running game that they feel like Amphley and Edgar Bennett supplies them also opens up a good play-action pass offense.
For the Cougars of Brigham Young, Craig, what must they do to upset the Seminoles? Where do they begin tonight?
We talk about Ty Detmer sitting in that pocket. Well, they need to move the pocket tonight, because he'll have 2 separated shoulders again if he stays in that 7-step pocket. He needs to get out there and find a way to find open receivers. That running game tonight from BYU must be intact. 20 to 30 carries, and they've got to find a way. Counters, traps, deceptive things. Defensively, they better come up with some kind of defensive scheme, like 4 or 5 different kind of ideas to offset Florida State's strength, because they're balanced on offense, and Florida State can come at you in any way they want to.
Well, Ty Detmer told me yesterday at the Kiwanis Luncheon that this is indeed the biggest game of his collegiate career. We'll be back with more after these messages from your local station. This is the Raycom Network.